Law&Crime Daily. Special coverage of Alec Murdaugh's decision to sit on the witness stand and tell his own story.
Defendant Richard Alexander Murdaugh wishes to take the stand.
The double murder suspect accused of killing his own wife and son has been caught in lies over and over again.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give today will be the truth and whole truth and nothing but the truth? Yes, ma'am.
We're taking you through Thursday's testimony with Murdaugh sometimes angry and other times very emotional.
Did you ever spend another night at Moselle after June 7th?
I never spent another night at Moselle.
Why not?
Couldn't. Didn't want to.
Law&Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome, everybody, to Law&Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. Alec Murdaugh, the man already at the center of a double murder trial in South Carolina, was in the spotlight Thursday, testifying in his own defense in front of a full gallery, and they dove right into the big question: did he kill his wife and son?
On June 7th, 2021, did you take this gun or any gun like it and shoot your son Paul in the chest in the feed room at your property off Moselle Road?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take this gun or any gun like it and blow your son's brains out on June 7th or any day or any time?
No, I did not.
Mr. Murdaugh, did you take a 300 blackout such as this and fire it into your wife Maggie's leg, torso, or any part of her body?
No, I did not.
Did you shoot a 300 blackout into her head, causing her death?
Mr. Griffin, I didn't shoot my wife or my son anytime.
Mr. Murdaugh, is that you on the kennel video at 8:44 p.m. on June 7th, the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
It is.
Were you, in fact, at the kennels at 8:44 p.m. on the night Maggie and Paul were murdered?
I was.
Did you lie to SLED Agent Owen and Deputy Laura Rutland on the night of June 7th and told them that you stayed at the house after dinner?
I did lie to them.
Did you lie to Agent Owen and Agent Croft on the follow-up interview on June 10th that the last time you saw Maggie and Paul was at dinner?
I did lie to them.
Alec, why did you lie to Agent Owen, Agent Croft, and Deputy Rutland about the last time you saw Maggie and Paul?
As my addiction evolved over time, I would get in these situations or circumstances where I would get paranoid thinking. It could be anything that triggered it. It might be a look somebody gave me. It might be a reaction somebody had to something I did. It might be a policeman following me in a car. That night, June 7th, after finding Mags and Paul, don't talk to anybody without Danny with you. All my partners were just repeatedly telling me that. I had a deputy sheriff taking gunshot tests from my hands. I'm sitting in a police car with David Owen asking me about my relationship with my wife and my son. And all those things coupled together after finding them, coupled with my distrust for SLED, caused me to have paranoid thoughts. Normally, when these paranoid thoughts would hit me, I could take a deep breath real quick and just think about it, reason my way through it, and just get past it really quickly. I wasn't thinking clearly. I don't think I was capable of reason. And I lied about being down there. And I'm so sorry that I did. I'm sorry to my son Buster. I'm sorry to Grandma and Papa T. I'm sorry to both of our families. Most of all, I'm sorry to Mags and Pawpaw. I would never intentionally do anything to hurt either one of them. Ever. Ever.
All right, let me bring in my co-host and my legal analyst, former defense attorney Brian Buckmeyer. Former defense attorney Brian Buckmeyer and former trial attorney Terry Austin. Brian, I'll start with you. So Alec admits to lying, and those lies stem from the drug abuse. The jury going to buy that?
I'm not quite sure, Jesse, but I think what's going to happen is he testifies, they put on an expert to talk about opioid abuse and how that can affect someone's perception of reality and whether or not they will tell the truth or lie in difficult situations. The problem with that is it opens a Pandora's box because that paranoia can also lead to violence. Violence could lead to killing your wife and son. And so it's really a dual-edged sword here. You can give this explanation to try to excuse why he made all of these lies and why the circumstantial evidence the prosecution is presenting doesn't line up. But if the prosecution is smart, they can also say, yeah, but aren't people who are suffering from opioid abuse also very violent, quick to anger, and also this could be used against him?
All right, we'll see about that. But, I mean, Terry, the defense directly asked about the financial crimes. Is that the right move here?
You know, I think at the end of the day, it was the right move, but I was surprised. Look, we know that Judge Newman let in financial crimes. We also know that he didn't decide whether he could be crossed on financial crimes. So he wanted to wait until the evidence came in to see what happened, if any door was open. But I think the defense decided, look, let me just go straight at this. Let's ask about the financial crimes. You can give your explanation. It's going to look better in front of the jury if you explain what happened than if we tried to hide this until you were cross-examined. So I think it was a good strategy. I'm not sure it worked, though.
We are going to talk more about this. There is a lot more to talk about this, because still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, our coverage of the Alec murder trial continues with more of his testimony. He tells us what it was like to find the bodies of his wife and son on the property, mutilated from gunshot wounds. Stay with us. And welcome back to Law and Crime Daily, everybody. Our coverage of the Alec Murdaugh murder trial continues now as the defendant testifies in his own defense. Defense attorney Jim Griffin walked Murdaugh through the night of the murders and the discovery of the bodies. Murdaugh was quite emotional as he described calling 911 and trying to help his youngest son, Paul.
I called 911. I was on the phone with 911, and I was trying to tend to Pawpaw. I was trying to tend to Maggie. And I just went back and forth between them.
Were you going to Paul and Maggie while you were on the phone with the 911 operators?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What did you do when you went up to Paul at some point in time?
And Paul. Paul was so bad. But at some point, I know I tried to check him for a pulse. I know I tried to turn him over.
When you say you tried to turn him over, why were you trying to turn him over?
I don't know. I don't know why I tried to turn him over. Me and my boys laying face down. And he's done the way he's done. His head was the way his head was. I could see his brain laying on the sidewalk. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I tried to turn him over. I grabbed him by the belt.
Now, one of the issues that Murdaugh's legal team brought up during direct examination was the report that the T-shirt Murdaugh was wearing on the night of the murders had high-velocity blood spatter on it. Now, why is that important? Well, when Murdaugh was indicted for murder, the lead investigator on the case had told the grand jury that the T-shirt was covered in blood. He says he didn't know until just a few months ago that the shirt had actually tested negative for human blood. On cross-examination, SLED agent David Owen testified he didn't get an email notification about the blood test from the lab. In photos from the testing, you can see the white shirt doesn't have what appears to be any stains on it at all, other than the ones from testing.
Your shirt went through testing and analysis, and you were part of this case provided results of that, were you not?
Yes, sir. I mean, I wasn't provided at the time. I've seen them
Right.
seen all these records.
You, well, just let me ask you, did you get on your shirt high velocity blood spatter from being within a distance of a shooting Maggie or Paul?
There's no way that I had high velocity blood spatter on me.
Had you seen reports that said that at one point in time?
I have seen reports that said that.
Just to be clear, were you anywhere in the vicinity when Paul and Maggie were shot?
I was nowhere near Paul and Maggie when they got shot. I'm well aware that my clothes never became an issue in this case until my lawyers proved that this blood spatter that they said I had on my shirt from my wife and my son was a lie, and that there was no blood on my shirt. And once they filed the documents and they proved that that was a lie, all of a sudden the clothes I was wearing back on that day became an issue.
All right, and we also have a quick update for you on a court interruption earlier this month. You remember when the Colleton County Sheriff's Office had an issue of a bomb threat? Well, it appears that they have charged a man for calling in that bomb threat. Deputies say Joey Coleman is an inmate in South Carolina, and they believe he called the courthouse on February 8th, telling staff that there was a bomb in the judge's chambers. The courthouse was evacuated while authorities searched the building. No devices were ever found. The Sheriff's Office says there is no connection between Coleman and Murdaugh or the trial. Coleman is now facing felony charges for the bomb threat. And coming up on Law and Crime Daily, we're bringing you more of Murdaugh's testimony as the defense meets the question of financial impropriety head on. What Murdaugh had to say about accusations that he stole millions of dollars from clients in his law firm, and what he says was the root of his problems. There were a lot of highlights in the first half of Alec Murdaugh's first day on the stand, and when court resumed after the lunch break, there was jaw-dropping testimony right out of the gate. The first half of Murdaugh's testimony consisted of him walking through the day his wife and son were shot to death, and he, of course, denied his involvement, explaining away various pieces of evidence that were hammered home by the prosecution. But it was quite a different story when his attorney switched gears to Murdaugh's long list of alleged financial crimes. Check it out.
Well, the jury's heard about testimony of you stealing client funds. Did you do that?
I did.
Did you steal or divert that Ferris fee away from the law firm?
I did.
But don't worry. Murdaugh can explain why, and he did just that in the next line of questioning.
How did you get in such a financial predicament that led you to steal money that wasn't yours?
You know, I'm not quite sure how I let myself get where I got, but it came from, you know, I battled that addiction for so many years. I was spending so much money on pills. I got in a spot I couldn't.
Now, what type of addiction are you referring to?
My addiction is to opiate painkillers,
And when
specifically oxycodone, OxyContin.
Oh, and it didn't end there, because last but not least, Murdaugh addressed why he hired Curtis Eddie Smith to kill him after the murders, also known as the roadside shooting.
Did you ask him to shoot you as a sympathy ploy, or did you want
As a sympathy
die?
ploy?
Yes, sir. Why did you ask him to shoot you? What was the end goal that you wanted to accomplish?
I meant for him to shoot me so I'd be gone. All this was coming to a head. I knew how humiliating it was going to be for my son. I mean, I'd been through so much. At the time, in the bad place that I was, it seemed like a better thing to do.
Did you have life insurance on you?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of life insurance.
How much life insurance did you have?
I had $12 million.
He admitted all that. Well, Law and Crime Network is your home for gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Alec Murdaugh murder trial. You can watch live streams from inside the courtroom, hear expert insight from legal professionals, and see information like timelines and exhibits. It's all on lawandcrime.com and every day here on Law and Crime Daily. We're going to be right back with more coverage of Alec Murdaugh's testimony. And welcome back, everybody. We put the spotlight on Alec Murdaugh's testimony on the witness stand, so we want to finish off today's show by panning the camera to the key players off the stand, starting with you, our viewers. We put up a poll on our live stream on YouTube to get your takeaways from day one, and by just the end of the day, look at this, 65% believe that Alec Murdaugh is guilty, 13% believe he's not guilty, 14% believe that there's going to be a hung jury, 8% undecided. Now, the second most crucial group of people are the jury, who will have a very important decision to make when this is all over. And we can't forget, of course, Buster Murdaugh, who's been watching his father testify about his family's murders from the gallery. And to give us all of those key observations from inside the courtroom, Law and Crime's very own Gigi McKelvey and South Carolina attorney Joe McCullough have the scoop.
They all were trying to subdue their true feelings. I'm sure they wanted to go, whoa, but everybody was real composed. It's been really interesting to watch this jury. There are times where they seem sympathetic. There are times where they seem like they're not buying it. It's really a mixed bag, hard to read, to be honest, but I've seen a little bit of all emotions from that jury. And then the public, of course, lots of whispering amongst each other, and just I can hear a lot of people's opinions from behind. He's looked down a lot during this testimony. Face gets red. I've noticed his hands are touching his face more. A couple of times he kind of puts his head in his hand. So it's really been hard, but at the end of the day, whatever he's feeling, it's definitely uncomfortable or emotional, just from what I can see.
You know, my view of the family throughout this trial for 5 weeks, they have been largely impassive, dispassionate, mask-like. And today, I've seen emotion from John Marvin. I've seen some emotion from Buster, and he wept at a point. If he has the angry resting face, as someone called it, we don't know whether that's because he's angry that his father is on trial, wrongly accused, or whether he's angry about something else. And they never know.
And that's it, right, Terry? Because we can never really know what a jury is thinking. Even if, they appear emotional, they're looking down, they're engaged, it's almost impossible to gauge, right?
Oh, it's absolutely impossible. You can only imagine what they must be thinking, though, especially what they were thinking about when Alec Murdaugh was on that stand testifying. On the one hand, He was very emotional. Buster was very emotional. You might think to yourself, okay, there's some jurors who are feeling sympathy. Actually, at one point, I actually felt some sympathy for him. But there might be many more jurors who are thinking, you know what, this is overacting. I don't think, you're an attorney. You shouldn't be that emotional while you're on the stand. So I think the reaction to the jury could be very well mixed. But you know, Jesse, as we always say, only one juror needs to hold out. And, you know, we're going to get a mistrial.
The only thing I'll say about that is he is talking about the death of his family, so that maybe could be a little different. Now, Brian, from an attorney's point of view, what is jury engagement? How does that affect an attorney during a cross-examination or a direct?
Well, you want to press on the issues that you see the jury more engaged in and kind of pull back on the ones that they're not. I know many of us were watching this direct examination when Alec Murdaugh was talking about Bubba and the chicken, and we were even joking, we're like, what, is he eventually going to say that Bubba and the chicken did the murders? Like, why are we on this topic for so long? But if the jury is engaged, if they're listening, if they're participating, at least in their body language or their facial expressions to a certain part of testimony, you keep going. If you start seeing them lose interest, that's when you want to maybe skip to the next chapter in your cross or direct examination and keep pressing forward. So seeing the engagement, you can gauge who is for you and who's against.
Know your audience. Bottom line. Brian, Terry, thank you both so much. Everyone out there, thanks for joining us here on Law&Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.